we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciated. Josh and I did start out the show, but 10 minutes in, he actually suffered an internet outage due to storms in Texas. So coming out of the bullpen, he's got a flamethrower for arm. He's like the guy, you know what? I am an Angels fan, but I know the Angels have stunk for decades now. They should have traded Ohtani and they should have traded all their top players away. Then and had the chance, and then they signed these other lousy players that are been great with other teams with like 10-year plus contracts. I'm looking at you, Albert Pujols, but be that as it may, one of the things they do have is they have a rookie arm guy that comes out of the bullpen, hits 105 miles an hour on the radar gun. And that's what we have right now, is a guy that hits it hard and hits it to you fast. It is, of course, the great one himself. It is TJ Johnson. And TJ, great to have you here. I will discuss with you something very interesting after our main discussion that I was talking about with Josh, but it got cut off. So I will bring that up to you in a little bit. I know it's not. I love to throw these surprise ones on you from time to time for the most part, but I did want to mention and start off first with the PlayStation 5 Pro. I know the guys and I on the Super BS Gamescast, which came on the Cosmos on Friday, talked about it at length. They did announce the PlayStation 5 Pro coming November 7th. It is coming in without a disk drive on it, without a vertical stand on it, coming in with a 2 terabyte drive, if I can say that correctly. Yes, 5 times fast SSD. It's coming up with a better processing unit, not the chip itself, but the actual AI behind it and the graphics processing end of it. Ray tracing. That you just couldn't say that word enough. Again, they had a presentation on it. The unit itself is coming out on the 7th for a whopping $699 US. Not to mention what it will cost in other parts of the world, which is even more, by the way. You wanted to go ahead and discuss this, my friend, so I will give you as much space, as much time, as much as you need. You seemed, just the way that we were interacting with each other, seemed to be echoing what the rest of the internet is saying about $699 for a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Well, first, Joe, thank you again for allowing me to be on the Pop Culture Cosmos.
2 terabyte SSD. There you go.
You got it. 2 terabyte SSD. I appreciate being on Pop Culture Cosmos. So, yes, they dropped that bombshell of a price point on us, and holy cow. But I've got a bit of a hot take. It's a bit of a controversial take. So I'm not going to bury the lead. It's actually not terribly priced. Before you shoot me, before you shoot me, this is in retrospect to building a PC of equivalent power, of equivalent graphic capabilities. Digital Foundries actually did a breakdown, and they said if you're gonna take everything that's in the PlayStation 5 Pro and use that to build a computer, it's actually going to cost you more to build an equivalent PC than it would to buy the PS5 Pro.
But I still think that's an unfair comparison because, the only reason why I say that is because you can do so many more things with the PC that you're doing.
This is true, no doubt. But we're just talking about from a purely component standpoint.
Yes.
From a component standpoint, it is cheaper to buy a PS5 Pro. Now, here's where the caveat ends, because whether it's less expensive or not, it is extremely arrogant and extremely tone deaf of Sony to put out a console that is graphically superior to your PS5, but understanding that a lot of people recently adapted the PS5 because you came out in the middle of the pandemic. There were shortages. There were people stockpiling them and suppliers not having enough to keep up with the demand. And people were really kind of just getting into the groove of the PS5. And then Sony says, I'm going to come out with the PS5 Pro and put that out for you guys, and that's only going to cost $700. And if you take it to a retailer and trade in your PlayStation 5, you might get upwards of $300 to $400 for it. So now you're only paying $315 for the upgrade, and it comes across very, very tone deaf. And this is the problem that I have. I understand that a lot of times these video game developers, these video game hardware developers, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they make their consoles, and a lot of times they're making them at a loss in profit. They're not making money on the consoles. And I truly believe that Sony selling that here in the United States is not going to make any money. Now, overseas and other areas, God bless them. Good luck to them, because that's for some of the prices that I've been seeing in the UK and over in Japan is ridiculous. It is insane. 116,000 yen, I want to say. I thought I seen for it was crazy. It was crazy. So I can't speak for them. As far as the US is concerned, I understand that they're selling it at a loss. The problem is the timing is just terrible. And I don't know who Sony's marketing team is. I don't know who their PR people are. I don't know who their think tank. I don't know. I feel like all of them need to be fired, because this just screams of complete tone deaf. They have zero idea of the climate that we're in. They have zero idea.
TJ, do I still have you? TJ, are you there? TJ, did I lose you? All right. And so we're going to hold on, stand by. So TJ, you were talking about how tone deaf PlayStation's PR has been in regards to this announcement.
Yeah, it's been terrible. It's been terrible. I don't know who they have on their team. I don't know who they have doing the think tanks or whatever you want to call it, but it's just absolutely tone deaf, considering that most people did not really get a chance to adopt the PS5 until maybe 2021, 2022. Some people still haven't gotten one yet. Now, that's not necessarily a supply issue. That's just more of a not feel like they need it issue. But it doesn't change the fact that people are just adopting the PlayStation 5. And if you look at the software catalog that PlayStation 5 has, there hasn't been that many exclusives that have been solely for the PlayStation 5. So we haven't even truly gotten a chance to really test the capabilities of the PS5 standard model. Take the slim line out of it, whatever. The baseline PS5, we haven't touched the surface of it yet. And now you're going to release a console that costs considerably much more, gives you less hardware as far as no disk drive, which would cost you an additional $80, no stand, which would cost you an additional 20, $25, whatever the case may be. You're looking at spending $800, upwards of $800 for the exact same, for the console, to have a disk drive and be able to use the physical media that you've already purchased for your PlayStation 5. So nothing about their message screams consumer friendly. Nothing about their message screams gamer first. Nothing about their message screams that we understand where we are. We understand how this all comes across, and we want to be better for you guys. None of that. Now, I understand that right now Microsoft has got this. We're trying to be the gamers console. We're trying to be the gamers place to where everything can be Microsoft related and da da da. We're here for the gamers. I get it. And I can understand how that could kind of start to rub some people the wrong way because they feel like they hear the message too much. But I feel like Sony doesn't say it at all. They're not even interested in giving into that idea, because this just screams, screw you. I want all your money. And I don't care how I get it. It's disheartening. It's just been it's been another black eye in PlayStation's face, man. It's between the PSVR 2 failing miserably, between the black eye that was them trying their darndest to block the acquisition of for Microsoft and getting Call of Duty and Activision and all that. It's been like just one PR nightmare after the other, and the only thing that's saving them is the fact that their console outsells Microsoft's console, 3-1, 2-1, 4-1, whatever the number is. Um, it just I just don't know who is on Sony's marketing team. I don't understand how they would have thought in their right minds that this is a good idea. Now, you're going to have your console enthusiasts who absolutely want to. You're going to have your people who adopted this PlayStation 5 right at launch and are absolutely fine with paying for an upgrade. And that's great. That's great. Um, but I think by and large, you're going to see, and from what I've read online, from what I've seen online, from some of the different conversations I've had with people, is that this is extremely unnecessary. It's extremely arrogant. And the fact that they had no competition is why they were able to price it the way they did. Xbox has already made it known that they weren't interested in a mid-season console upgrade at this time because people are really just getting their hands on consoles anyways. So I don't understand it. I just I'm disappointed. I think that's the right term. I feel like a dad. Like I'm just so disappointed. Like I feel like you should know better. You should be better than this, and they're just not. So yes, do I think it's priced in consideration of what it would cost to actually build a PC of that nature? Yeah, it's priced pretty well. But as far as what people are looking for in a console, and as far as the climate that we're in right now, this is it's just not the right move. It's not the right move at all. Not even close.
Once again, it is the great one, TJ Johnson, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for joining us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. We are talking the PlayStation 5 Pro. One of the things that you were talking about that I took note in regards to how the PR end of it's just every step of the way was not gamer friendly. I actually last night got, because I don't know whether they were doing it intentionally or not, but IGN this weekend rolled out one of their old specials where they actually take a look back at something that happened throughout pop culture history or gaming history primarily. One of the things that they covered in a about 15-minute synopsis was the coverage of why the PlayStation 4 stood out and just really right from the get-go
Oh
took
yeah, yeah,
command of that
yeah,
generation. And it just,
yeah.
again, it was something very interesting. A lot of it was just basically old footage of what happened around 2013. But the thing that was noted, and the thing that you have to note, was how Sony, virtually every step of the way, saw what Xbox was doing wrong and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and show ourselves to gamers in a different fashion. Now,
Mhm.
mind you, they would have loved the fact that they could control the fact that there were no used games at that point in time, because that was a big thing, was
Yeah,
trying to see if they could slow down the used games market from both these, you know, these console makers, and also as well from the developers as well. They were all convinced that used games would bring down the entire video game industry at that point in
right.
time, so they were doing their best on it. But they saw the feedback, so they decided, you know what, if with the DRM issues and the always online issues that were such big concerns to gamers,
Hmm.
they went in a different direction, even though they probably had a thought or two that they wanted to go ahead down that road. But they ultimately, in their famous and probably best
E3
PR
ever.
move
Yeah.
ever
Yep.
at E3 2013, did the sharing of the video game from one executive to another to say, this is how you share games on the PS4. And believe me, that went a long way to sell so many PlayStations 4s early on, and it just snowballed from there, and it became one of the
Yes.
biggest selling consoles in history.
Yes. Yep.
Flash forward 11 years later, and it seems like they've not remembered any of those good steps and good graces towards gamers, because PSVR 2 put it at a terrible price for something that not a whole lot of people were interested in. But then again,
Mhm.
Apple did worse, but need I digress on that?
So,
But but exactly. So Apple Vision, anyone? But I want to go ahead and say this: PlayStation. I understand for the components necessary in it that $700 is probably around the price that you would need to put it at, but it's the fact that you're pricing it at 700 to 900 dollars, depending on what part of the world that you're looking at,
Mhm.
before the disk drive,
Yep.
before the vertical stand,
Yep.
before a second controller, before another game or two
Mhm.
that could take advantage of it. You didn't even have any new games to come along with it. They're all the stuff you showed us from games either that are coming out next week, as like a Jedi Survivor on PS4 and Xbox One, the previous generation, or like Harry Potter, that game, that was the best
Hogwarts
selling game
Legacy.
of
Yep. Yep.
last year.
Yep.
They didn't bring anything new to really coincide with it that's going to make people say, wow, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and fork over those bucks. They just don't remember what got them there to this point in the first place.
It's funny that you bring that up, and I remember seeing IGN's little article on that, and yeah, I don't know how much that was planned. Maybe it was planned, maybe it wasn't. I
I
find it to
think
be
it was
very,
planned.
I
I
find it to
think
be
they did
very
this.
convenient. Oh yeah, I
The
find it to be
video,
very
they
convenient.
timed it to come out on Friday, so they
Yeah.
kind of planned it.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of felt like IGN's been anti-Xbox, but that's a conversation for another day. Here's the point is, I completely agree with the fact that they've completely forgotten who it's really for. Is it the right price for that console? Yeah, it's probably the right price, but is it the right thing to do? And I truly believe that you have to have a moral compass even when you're dealing with business. One of the things I'm grateful for working for the company that I do is they have a moral compass.
Is it
um
a good look?
it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all, but that's my point. I work for a company that has a very, very strong moral compass. We're going to do the right thing for the employee. We're going to do the right thing for the consumer. And even if that means we're not going to make a lot of money doing it, we're okay with that, because at the end of the day, we're making sure that the customers are taken care of. We're making sure that our employees are taken care of, and we're making sure that our stockholders are taken care of. I believe in that message wholeheartedly. That's what's kept me at this company for the last 20 plus years. With that being said, it hurts when other businesses or other companies don't understand such a simplistic message. You take care of the consumer, you take care of your employees, and you're not always going to be getting the most bang for your buck every time you sell a console, and that's okay, as long as you're doing right by the as long as you're doing right by the consumer. And I feel like Sony just doesn't seem to get it anymore. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's been some leadership change since 2013 um, at Sony. Um, I feel like this new regime is just focused on making as much money as they possibly can and taking advantage of people wanting to have the latest, the greatest, the newest, um, each and every opportunity that they have. So it really is disappointing. It's not disheartening. I don't know if disheartening is the right word, because we're talking about a corporation that's just focused on making money and really has only been focused on making money for quite some time now. It's extremely disappointing. It really, really is. And as someone who is definitely much more pro Xbox than I am Sony, I at the end of the day, I'm a gamer, so I love all the consoles, for the different things that each one of them seem to offer. With that being said, it makes it. I've told you, it's made it very, very hard for me to want to spend money on a console, or spend money on anything PlayStation related. And my feelings have not changed. I'm having a really hard time with it.
I think a lot of people are having a hard time with it. And again, it's not because of the components per se.
Mhm.
It's the look of putting out a $700 console
Yep.
in the US and 800 to $900 or yen or whatever pound. It's not a good look at this point in time in a economy or world economy that's not in a great place right now. Very tenuous, and then you put out that and you bring out with no games that really need that kind of enhancement. I mean, I watched the presentation and it was just like, okay, so I see more coming out of the stained glass, or I see more reflections in the pool. Do you have a TV that's even going to support the new?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so do you have to pay 2,000, because you can't go the great deals that you get on a 50, 60, 70 inch during Black Friday probably will not be the TVs that are going to be able to showcase what the PlayStation 5 Pro can do. And on top of all that comes out the reports, Digital Foundry and others are reporting that there's a possibility, a good one, that the game everybody is targeting that would best take advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro, GTA 6, may not even be able to run at the vaunted 4K 60 frame per second Nirvana that everybody seems to want to go ahead and strive for if you're a gamer.
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting report from Digital Foundry as well. And I understand that they're a bit of an authority on graphics and how these graphics play out and whatnot. Uh, I definitely take what they're saying into consideration. Um, it's gonna be really, really. I'm curious to see what the final numbers look like for people that have adapted to the PS5 Pro. I've read countless Reddit threads at this point that are probably 75-25 not going to do it. Um, that seems to be pretty steep of a number for a company that's spending all this money to make consoles already at a loss of profit, and then you're still not even going to be able to sell the ones that you want to sell. It's not going to be it's not going to be easy. I definitely think this console is geared towards the people that have already had the PlayStation 5 and want to upgrade. I just don't see the necessity for it, and I think that it's going to show in their bottom line that the consumers really don't see a necessity for it either. You're always going to have people that are going to adopt it because people just want to have the latest and greatest and the newest, and that's fine too, right? That's not a knock against them. However, we have not even begun to scratch the potential of the PlayStation 5, and here we are launching a PlayStation 5 Pro. So it makes the people that fought so hard to get the PlayStation 5 originally, it kind of spits in their face. You know, some people were glued to those Sony queues and different retailers queues trying to get their hands on a PlayStation 5, and you know they worked so hard to get to a console that they have yet to see the potential in, and now there's already another console to make that one obsolete when they spent, you know, however long and however hard they were trying to get to that console. Like it's just everything about this just screams complete tone deafness and not being um in the moment, not understanding how bad of a look this would be. And like I said, the biggest word is disappointing. It's just disappointing. It's very, very disappointing to see that they just don't know, or worst case, they just don't care. And that's a bigger problem in and of itself.
So, with the last few minutes before the half-hour break, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on how well do you think it'll sell. I was quoted on the Super BS Games cast as saying that it's going to get a spike initially from people that are just got to have it, regardless of whatever games that really are going to be usefully tied to it. There's about 15 to 20 games
Yeah.
from the past, whether it's recent or uh, distant, that will be able to be upgraded,
Yeah.
improved with a PlayStation 5 Pro. So it's not a whole lot. It's not a whole plethora of games as of yet. So with that said, I still think there's going to be some that have got to have it now. In fact,
Yeah.
the disc drive has been selling like crazy because people are anticipating a, uh, I guess, a barrage of sales initially for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Remember, that's $80 right there. Plus you spend $30 for the stand. So that will cost you $110 if you want that added on to it. But before tax,
Right.
let's not
Right.
forget about tax in there. But
Right.
let me ask your thoughts. I think that once the year ends, until GTA, unless there's another game that comes out that's going to really take advantage of it or be advertised to take advantage of it, because Microsoft's not going to really advertise Indiana Jones for it. Want to ask your thoughts on the fact that I think that it's going to find and see its struggles until GTA 6 once the new year changes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think that it's going to be about a out of the install base of the PlayStation 5. I think it's going to be about a 25% adaptation. I don't think that I think it's going to be 1 in 4 that actually turn around and get a PS5 Pro. I just don't. From everything I'm reading now, obviously there's plenty of time for PlayStation to turn this around, right? There's plenty of time for PlayStation to start showing some really, really good stuff to make people more and more excited and more interested in purchasing this. They have the ability, they have the time to do so. It's just a matter if they actually have anything ready, PS5 Pro ready to actually demonstrate or put out there as far as being worthy of a PS5 Pro upgrade. I just don't know if they are in a position to do that. And because they're not in the position to do that, I just don't see them as having the grounds to be able to make up anything more than a 25% user install base. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, we will keep an eye on it to see if it will be able to go ahead and get those kind of numbers. I think early on it will find a marketplace. May even spike beyond the 800, the $700. Do not be surprised if it might spike like the PlayStation 5 did initially, where there was a shortage and people were bots were buying everything up, and you have to go on eBay and spend over $1,000 on the PlayStation 5. We may have to do the same thing again on the Pro early on, but after the new year, look for availability on it. I have a feeling if you're able to hold out on it, go ahead and do so. But yeah, I just think it's just the messaging and the timing of this is all wrong. Who was asking for a PlayStation 5 Pro so much that we needed it right now?
Yeah, agreed. I know I wasn't. I definitely wasn't, and I don't know anybody that really was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just it's amazing to see that this is going to come out to the marketplace and really not have a whole lot of support for it. But over time, the next 2, 3, 4 years, obviously, it will have enough for it at that point in time until the next PlayStation 6 comes out or whatever they're going to call it then. But that's the problem. Now that we have a $700 console, how well it sells, Xbox and Nintendo are looking to say, maybe we need to think about raising the prices of our consoles that we release in the future as well. So we'll see definitely what happens there. But TJ, I cannot thank you enough for your thoughts on that as far as the Sony PlayStation 5 Pro. It's going to be very interesting to see which games will be allocated for it, which games will be enhanced by it, which must-have games will look so much better. And again, do you even have a TV that's going to be able to support it as well?
Yeah, gee, I just I don't know, man. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it, and I am concerned, but time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. But once again, it is the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you have thoughts out there on the PlayStation 5 Pro, please let us know right here when you can. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, it sounds like TJ, you're home.
No,
Um,
nope, not yet.
oh, not yet? Okay. How
No,
much more time do you think you have?
I'm good, brother. Let's go. Let's roll.
All right. Well, again, I wanted to hear your thoughts on this since you are an avid gamer.
Okay.
One of the things that I talked to Josh about before the storm hit and its internet went out was GameStop. And GameStop has been dipping their toe into the water yet again. They've been dipping it in and out here and there. Josh said they've been doing it depending on the city a little bit more than others. Sometimes they pull it back. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not. Well, they're now fully embracing the retro concept as far as being able to take in and resell retro games and gaming products, calling itself in certain locations and also certain areas of the store, depending on how they're allocating it, GameStop Retro. So I want to hear your thoughts. It is causing quite a bit of interest in recent weeks from YouTubers that are now looking at it, the resellers, the collectors. They're all looking at it to see if it's actually worth their time. And overwhelmingly, the answer, whether or not it's through bias or otherwise, is no, that it's not really gone over well. But that, again, that's the attitude towards GameStop
Yeah.
essentially over the past 10 to 15 years, the circle of life that they were trying to push on people, and what they were forcing their employees to go ahead and do, and a
Yep.
whole bunch of other things that they've done, closing of their Game Informer, not a, again, their PR hasn't been the best either over the course of time or the past few years. But I
Yeah.
want to hear your thoughts, my friend, as someone who's one of their greatest supporters for the show is Retro City Games, the best and biggest retro gaming. I mean, if you came to Las Vegas,
Mm.
I would take you there to Retro City Games, one of their two locations, because it is really a retro gaming paradise. So, with that being said, my friend, GameStop, they're, and again, this might be out of desperation. This might be because, there's no other choice for them to do. It's because they're trying to keep the mortar and brick stores open. I understand the desperation and need to do it, but your thoughts on GameStop Retro, my friend?
I it's funny that you bring it up. I absolutely think this is a desperation thing. I think that they're grasping at straws. They're throwing enough stuff on the wall, trying to see what sticks. The truth of the matter is, GameStop is becoming defunct. It is no longer the authority on games. It's no longer the authority. I don't have to go to GameStop. I honestly don't remember the last time I stepped foot in a GameStop was when I worked in a GameStop, and that was a few. It's been quite a few years ago at this point.
Well, I'm going to tell you, with for all to get everybody clarity out there, I stop at GameStops all the time,
Uh,
but I go to their clothing area because all
for the
I'm worried
T-shirt,
about is
yeah,
their shirts. Yes,
yeah,
gaming.
yeah,
I'm a gaming shirt freak, so that's what I'm looking at. So I haven't looked at their games in quite some time.
yeah, man. It's just
I
not
think the
worth
day
it.
when I went there and I tried to pre-order Uncharted 4, and the employee looked at me and asked which system was it on.
That's sick. Yeah,
I
but
think I've told you that one before.
I think
Yeah,
yeah, that further proves the point that it's just not what it used to be. It used to
yeah.
be the authority. It used to be people there. So let me give you a little personal story. When I worked at GameStop many years ago, the manager looked at me and said, "There's no reason for you to be here. You're too smart. You're too bright. You make too much money at your other job. No reason for you to be here. So why, oh why, do you subject yourself to this?" And I said, it's quite simple, man. I love games. I love games. I love talking about games. I love being around people who love games. I love sharing stories. I love talking about the first time I made the impossible mission or the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. I love talking about those experiences and hopefully talking somebody else into experiencing some of those experiences for themselves. So it used to be an authority. It used to be ran by people who cared and people who genuinely enjoyed being a part of that community. Obviously, things change, businesses change, mindsets change, um, focuses obviously change, and that's what happened with GameStop. So with this retro store that they're trying to do, this is just another attempt at maintaining relevancy,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it's just not there. I'd much rather go to a mom and pop retro store than to go to GameStop, and it's just who they are now. Their name just does not ring well in the hearts of gamers. Their business practices don't ring well in the hearts of gamers, and I just have no desire to spend my money there anymore. Not even for a T-shirt. I can go to Amazon and get a T-shirt. I
Well,
just,
like, sometimes
I just,
GameStop.com has those
yeah,
clearance deals for like $7, so I keep an eye
absolutely.
on it. In fact, I remember getting my one of my Mass Effect Andromeda jackets. I got that for like $5 one time at
Yeah.
GameStop. So sometimes it does pay off. So
I believe it.
I'll
I
just
believe
leave
it,
it there.
and that's not to discredit. Sometimes that they
Of
actually have
course,
great
that's all I
stuff.
pay is for $5 for a Mass Effect Andromeda jacket. But need I digress?
Well, that's more than you have to pay to actually get the game at this point. Uh,
Oh,
Hi-yo. But with that being said, it's just it just does not. People just don't want to shop at GameStop, and they've done too much. It's almost one of those things where you just done too much wrong that we just don't have a desire to deal with you anymore. And that's okay because that's our prerogative, right? We're the consumer. We have the power. We should be able to decide, you know what, you've done enough to where we just don't really want to deal with you. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening. And so, no, nobody's going to care. They're going to go find other places to go get their retro game fix. They're going to try to find a mom and pop store. They're going to try to find a disc replay or whatever, whatever the option is. I know in Illinois we have disc replays. I'm not sure what they have in other states, but places where you can go and find used games or find, retro games and, pay the mom and pop price. So I, it's just a matter. I think it's just a matter of time. I really do. I think it's just a matter of time before it's time to call it, and GameStop finally goes the way of Circuit City, and we just don't have it anymore. It maybe just goes online. Maybe they finally do just shut down all the brick and mortar stores. I'm not sure, but it's just not. It's not what's popping anymore, Gerald. Nobody cares.
So you don't see this move paying off for
No,
GameStop?
No, I don't. However, I do see it as being all profit. So whatever they do sell is straight profit. So that's that's cool for them. But no, I don't see this move going well for GameStop at all.
Okay, because the margins on retro or used is obviously where they get their
Exactly.
their biggest margins from. So I can see why they want to get back into the retro, meaning 10 years, 15 years or older games. So I can understand why they want to get back into it. So I can get that. But yeah, I see it as a desperation move, and it just seems like it's getting closer and closer to the day where unfortunately a lot of these stores will close for GameStop, which is again North America's largest video game store as of now. And how much longer I can say that, I don't know. But again, if you have experienced something different when it comes to GameStop and their new emphasis, well, okay, I shouldn't say new, it's refreshed, because they've done this before. It seems like, change in wind. Oh, okay, we won't do it. Okay, change in the wind. Oh, okay, well, yeah, now we are interested in Redditor. So this time they're actually branding it. They've gone to the branding of it. So we'll see what happens. But are you interested in GameStop Retro? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been so far awesome to have you here, but the Emmys are taking place right now as we speak, and the winners are being announced. And I will say this, The Bear, and this is based off of season 2. I know season 3 is already aired, but this is based off of season 2, which a lot of people are really, really high on as a season. Season 3, people are like all over the place on. I get that, but again, this is based off of season 2 compared to the Shogun. Hulu is something that we've a streaming outlet, one of the oldest streaming outlets, but a streaming outlet that actually had a chance to be the Netflix at that point in time, that they unfortunately never quite materialized in being. We don't know if they're ever going to be bought out fully by Disney. They have this partnership with Disney. Disney owns most, but not all. The one thing I do want to ask you, though, with Hulu, obviously with the success of Shogun and also The Bear having between them like almost 40 nominations tonight and several wins, I will say that as far as I'm concerned, we will have the list right there for you on the Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook as they're saying the awards now. But your thoughts on Hulu with all this notoriety from these select few shows, why could they ever have put it together to be something much larger than they are today?
Gerald, that's a great question. I don't know if I have the answer to that, especially because we don't really know what Hulu wants to do. Hulu is, as you mentioned, was acquired in Disney, and now they're part of a Disney bundle where you buy Disney and you get ESPN, and now they even have it set up with HBO Max, so where is it Max or is it HBO? Is it back to HBO Max? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know they come back to HBO, I think. I whatever. Again, it's just like GameStop Retro. It's like depending on which the wind changing.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell. It really is. Now, obviously, you start having wins like the Bears having, and with all the nominations, I think you said 40 nominations. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
You start to wonder, However, I don't think one show is enough to save an entire streaming platform. So I think that it's still inevitable that it gets fully absorbed into Disney, and it just goes the way it goes. Sorry, I sneeze right there. Excuse me. I think that it's just inevitable that it goes there, and that's okay. I enjoy having all my streaming platforms on one thing. So maybe ultimately it'll all be in one spot instead of having to go to Amazon, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu. I can just all be on one spot, and that'll be great.
It would be great. And again, I would love it to be that way. And eventually for Hulu, I think they will get bought out by Disney and just get absorbed at some point in time. But I have been saying that for years. And it's funny because overseas, they see it all as one thing.
Right.
And they don't see it as separate entities like we do here. But again, we'll see. And by the way, I don't want to sell them short. Shogun and the Bear have earned 48 nominations for tonight's Emmys, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, this. I mean, I've seen Shogun. It's one of the best of the year, and season 2 was the best year of season of the Bears. So I definitely see what they're talking about there. So
Right.
Jeremy Allen White has won for the best actor in a dramatic series, and even Mas Baccarat for the Bear has won in as far as supporting actor is concerned. And Lisa Colon Zayas for the Bear has won for supporting actress. So they're not sweeping, but they're winning most of the awards. So it's really understood. But again, Hulu is just, when we look back on it, my friend, when we look back on these streaming wars, maybe 10, 15 years down the line, we're going to look at Hulu, same thing like Crackle, and figure out what
I
went
remember Crackle.
wrong from there.
I remember Crackle.
That's the problem. You just said it right there. I remember Crackle.
It feels like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't. Almost like when did you know? I don't know if you knew this or not, but Netflix used to actually sell DVDs. They used to rent DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago. Long time ago.
Absolutely. But they're the ones that stood up. They're the ones that, with them, Hulu and Crackle, in the infancy of streaming, they're the ones that took the chance. They were running losses left and right. They were spending huge amounts on content, but ultimately, my friend, now that they have well over 250 million subscribers worldwide, they have the WWE on the way and
Yes,
more.
they do.
Ultimately, it's going to work out.
Yes, yes, it is. That WWE deal is something exciting, man. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So excited.
I'll tell you what, though, speaking of WWE, before we head on out, my friend, I got to get your thoughts on this, my friend, because it's
Okay.
something I was going to ask somebody else earlier last week on, but they couldn't make the show to do so. And it is WWE's, I guess I want to say WWE question related, because yesterday we saw at the Sphere here in Las Vegas, one of the most beautiful buildings in all the world. They had in their 15,000 seat arena inside the UFC there. And it came off as a huge success, getting well over, I think the gate was over 24 million. I think at this point, what the highest gate ever for a UFC event, at least an indoor arena event of that kind. And it does cost them a lot of money to rent it, to produce it. They may never do it again, but that's a heck of a lot of money for last night. I want to ask your thoughts on this. TKO is the parent company for UFC, and TKO a little over a year ago finalized a deal for the WWE. So WWE has now been in good graces with TKO now for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this. This is something I want to ask my friend, but I'm asking you now, since you do have that WWE knowledge.
Okay.
Has the purchase of WWE by TKO been a good thing for wrestling fans? I mean, obviously it has been for UFC, for MMA fans when you make $24 million, but for the WWE side, has it been a good thing for WWE fans?
I am a fan of this TKO purchase, and I don't let me start over. I don't know enough about the way it works internally at WWE if you go back to the Vince McMahon era before all his
Oh, and we will be going back to the Vince McMahon era later on this month on Netflix.
On Netflix, we will. Which they didn't even bother to ask good old JR anything about. Anyways, I digress. That's a whole other
Well, as much as I love JR, that's not the person I wanted to see them interview, and I'll just leave it at that.
About Vince? Oh, absolutely. He was Vince's right hand at a lot of those
There's
things.
absolutely. I think there was one person more important to the current story of Vince McMahon I would want to ask right now, and I'll just leave it at that. But she declined to interview, then I'll leave it at that.
For sure. No, that I definitely don't disagree with. But as far as some of the other stuff, good old JR. Anyways, so in not understanding exactly how the workings go, here's what I can tell you I feel, right? Because I can't go off of what I know because I don't know. So let me explain to you what I feel. What I feel is excitement for WWE product again. What I feel is excitement for the storylines. What I feel is excitement for seeing these stars and watching their stories unfold. And it's been something that was lacking in WWE for quite some time. And I know, love them or hate them, The Rock made it very clear that wrestling was cool again, and he kept saying that over and over. And it sounded cheesy then, and it still sounds pretty cheesy now, but it doesn't make it less true. It really is a lot of fun to be a WWE fan. It is a lot more fun to be able to talk about WWE ad nauseum in a lot of different forums now. People that don't usually talk about WWE, who didn't talk about WWE before, are now having very fluent discussions about it, talking about storylines and wanting to see this person with this person, and now wanting to understand how this person got to this point. And well, who was Cody Rhodes before this? You know, what other aliases did Cody Rhodes go by? Just different conversations that I've had with people, because now they're interested. Now they want to know more about it. Now they're understanding that these are real athletes. And I understand that, you know, wrestling is quote unquote, wrestling is fake and staged, and absolutely it's a scripted event. We know they tend to know what's going to happen beforehand. There's still a lot of freestyle, there's still a lot of creativity that goes into it, but by and large they know a lot of the beats that are going to happen before they happen. I get it, right? But what people are finally starting to really come to the understanding of is exactly how athletic these people are and how much of pure athletes they really are. And they put their bodies on the line every single time they go out into that ring. And while it has some give, it's not as forgiving as you may or may not think. It really goes to show you that there's a certain art to it that people are finally kind of starting to appreciate. And as a avid WWE fan, I appreciate that they're appreciating it. Now, some people be like, oh, now they're just getting on board because of this. I don't care why they're getting on board. The fact of the matter is they're here. Now that they're here, let's continue to give them something to be here about. And since their acquisition with TKO, and since Triple H has been in charge of creative directions, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun watching Roman Reigns come back and be this huge baby face after being such a tremendous heel for so long. Is exciting. It's fun, and it's still Roman Reigns. It's still the tribal chief Roman Reigns. He's just now looked at as a baby face because of Sequoia, and it's just so much fun. So I don't have a numbers response for you. I don't have a analytics professional response for you. What I do have is what I feel, and what I feel is it's exciting. It really is. And I'm even more excited to see how it continues to move forward, you know, especially with, you know, again, especially with like even with The Rock being on the board, like there's so many different avenues that they can go with and have fun with. And now with them being bought by Netflix, the skies that are not being bought by Netflix, but being able to broadcast on Netflix, now that they're being partners with them, this is going to be, the sky's the limit now. It could be so much fun, and you can really have some gritty, meaty, engaging storylines. Now, I think that they're gonna have to find a fine line between being too adult and too kiddie. Like they're gonna have to probably stay PG-13, maybe R, maybe soft R. I don't know, but being bought by Netflix, they're definitely gonna have the opportunity to kind of to bite on a little bit more and have a little bit more fun than what they're used to having. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the partnership that they have. I'm excited to see where this creatively continues to go. and I'm excited that I'm excited that wrestling is actually cool again. So
You mentioned about being able to maybe open up the envelope, or whatever the vernacular that you use in regarding to push the limits a little bit more.
mhm.
I don't know about Attitude Era level, maybe. I don't know, because of the move over to Netflix. But one of the things that you can compare it to is supposedly their main competitor. And I will say supposedly because in the numbers they're not close, but it is their number 2 competitor in the entire world, which is All Elite Wrestling. They, in recent weeks especially, have tried to go ahead and test the limits of what wrestling fans may or may not want to see. And I've actually seen quite a bit of what they've tried to push over the course of the past few weeks. Some of it has worked, and some of it is just like, it's not just, I don't know what they're trying to do sometimes. They're just trying to do things for shock and awe. Burning someone's house down after cutting probably one of the best promos of their life, and uh, you know that was something I found interesting because it was something that was different. Okay, I get it.
Mhm.
I kind of liked it. It got me to watch their main event as far as that next few days. But we go into that main event and it's power bombing off of cinder blocks, using a hypodermic needle, trying to trash the guy, even though it was a gimmick chair, okay, what have you. But they're doing things to try and test the limits. We saw this 20 years ago in ECW, another company that
Mhm.
really tried
Mhm.
to test the limits, actually a little bit more, 25 years ago, I should say, test the limits of what people wanted to see. But the thing is, they found out, even with the Attitude Era, they found out there's either for the larger mass audience, there's only a limited time span of their intention span to go over the top of this stuff. Or
Mhm.
in the case of ECW, to go really hardcore, there's
Mhm.
a limited audience for it, and that it doesn't get over to a broader mainstream as well. So I want to hear your thoughts on if they should continue to push the envelope when they go to Netflix, and how far do you think it should go?
I think that it's inevitable that they're gonna push the limits a little bit and see what they can get away with. I just think it's the nature of the beast. You don't you don't go into a partnership with Netflix and understanding that it's a paid partnership, so or not, it's a paid subscription service, so you're not beholden to the regular rating system, and you're not beholden to execs that say you can only push this, you can only do this, you can only do that. Now they kind of have carte blanche, if you will, to really push things and make some intriguing storylines and
If they
some
slap that
interesting.
TVMA rating at the beginning of the show, that'll tell you everywhere that they want to go.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And with that being said, I think it's inevitable that they're going to push it now. And this is what I mean. There has to be a very fine line, and they have to understand where they are, and this paradigm shifting of people being excited about wrestling again. You don't want to alienate them. Now, you want to make them excited and give them something to talk about, but you also don't want to alienate and and potentially cut off people at the knees from wanting to really have anything to do with the program. So it's a fine line, but I have to say Triple H has done a remarkable job at changing the culture there. And because of how awesome of a job he's done at changing the culture, and a lot of the WWE superstars will tell you about how much he's changed the culture there. Because of how well he's done it, I think we owe him a certain level of a certain level of bias towards his ability to be able to pull it off. And he's earned that thus far. So yes, I'm a bit not concerned. Concerned's not the right word, but I'm curious as to how much they're going to push that envelope. I'm for certain that they're going to push the envelope. That's not a question. I mean, some of The Rock's latest tirades when he was still on WWE television will let you know they have absolutely plans on pushing the boundaries. I think I heard more f bombs in his brief stint as the final boss on WWE than I heard in a WWE program in the last 20, 30 years. So yeah, he's gonna push it, or they're gonna push it. But the question is how much. And like you said, between what ECW did back in the day and what All Elite Wrestling is doing now, there's a certain taste for some of that stuff, but how much is too much? And we'll see. The days of Jackass television are gone, and it's yet to be seen as to if we really have the stomach or the appetite for that type of carnage, if you will. So we'll see.
We'll see indeed. But again, if you have thoughts out there on the WWE and how well they've done under the TKO banner, I mean, obviously the numbers speak for themselves. It's one of the boom periods in professional wrestling history. They're doing very well as of now. How long can they sustain it? With UFC getting one of their largest, their largest indoor arena gate ever. What is, in fact, one of the largest gates ever, period, for a sporting event like that, for an MMA fight. It seems like TKO is right now doing really well. How much bigger can it get? How much more popular can UFC and WWE get? I don't know. TKO may want to sell high, TJ, because they may be at a plateau right now.
You never know, man. You never know. I don't want to count them out yet. I don't want them to. I don't necessarily want to put that into existence quite yet. You're not wrong, but I don't want to. I don't want to speak to that. I want to keep enjoying what's happening and keep enjoying the ride that they're on, and keep enjoying this renaissance of WWE fandom, because it's pretty cool to see. It's pretty cool to see these WWE superstars who work their tail off and are on the road 300 out of 300 out of 365 days. They're on the road for 300 to 320 plus of them. So it's exciting to see them starting to really get their just desserts and starting to see some of these storylines play out and starting to see some of these efforts rewarded. I think that's the big thing. Spending so much time away from family and spending so much time on the road and giving everything they have to entertain us and not really making any headway into popularity or stardom. I'm sure that could grind on you. So it's exciting to see people start to recognize these superstars for who they are, and they are absolutely without a doubt, 100% superstars. So I'm excited, and I hope the ride continues. I hope it does.
I hope it does as well. But what are your thoughts out there on TKO and their year of ownership of the UFC and the WWE? Please let us know your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. And one last update for you out there. Shogun is now cleaning it up at the Emmys with big wins in the Best Actor and Best Actress category. So they're looked like they're getting some really good returns as well for the entire list of winners from tonight, including Jodie Foster, Jeremy Allen White, and more. Gene Smart, Billy Crudup. A whole bunch of great actors and actresses are being honored tonight, and they're going home with the gold for the Emmys. Go ahead and check it out right there for the entire recap of who won and who lost on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. But my friend, it's been a great episode as always. You've given us the insight like no one else. All apologies to Josh for his internet outage due to thunder and lightning and all that bad stuff right there in Texas. But I got a chance to chat with you. I was actually going to do it anyways, but the crowd doesn't really know that. But okay. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Man, you know what? It's a good time to be a gamer. We still got a lot of excitement on the horizon. I'm looking
It
forward
isn't for your
to.
pocketbook.
No. It's definitely not for your pocketbook. But as far as content, we're getting great stuff. Obviously, with the release of NBA 2K25, forget how many iterations we've had. 2K25, and now we're getting ready to come into another boxing game, but undisputed, and we've got the Dragon Ball game getting ready to come out, and there's a lot coming down the pipeline. It's going to be very important that you pay attention to the Pop Culture Cosmos to get all the information that you need to make informed decisions on the best purchases for your hard-earned dollar. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for your rights to know and be informed and make informed decisions. Now is the time to go out there and vote with your wallets. We got
And
you.
they'll be voting for their wallets. Voting. They'll be voting with their wallets, indeed, my friend. So, the great one, TJ Johnson. I tell you what, it is just so great to have you here. You are always welcome, whether it's planned or not. Well, this time it was planned, but it worked out that you are giving us the lowdown as always, my friend. And it's always you giving us the great synopsis of everything going on in pop culture. No less expected from the great one himself. Isn't that great?
Hey, I'm grateful to be a part of the pop culture cosmos, G. Thanks so much.
So for TJ Johnson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.